All right, so there's no one here yet, but I'll start it off anyway. Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to Minds Behind the Music. I am your host, LA. I hope everyone is having a decent Monday or bearable Monday, to say the least. Decent, bearable. Oh well. Today's topic is, well, it's another open discussion for you guys. This open discussion is about underrated bass players. Now, I know whoever here's gonna get on here and probably leave instantly because, oh no, he's a bass player. He's gonna talk about bass players. A lot of the big guitar elitist boomer people are gonna just stand there and be like this.
Ooh, nobody gives a shit.
But I'll start off with one. I'm gonna start off with a bass player. He's he was specifically known for a lot of his material in the late 60s and early 70s, specifically with the famous band Free. Now, a lot of people don't a lot of you know, normal people or regular rock listeners um probably are like scratching their heads at Free. They're like, "What? Who? I've never heard of this band before." Free was an English rock band that formed in the late '60s, I believe '68 or '67. I can't exactly remember. I believe it was '68. That was Paul Rogers' first band, and I believe that was Simon Kirk's first band. It was also, I think, one of the bassist that I'm about to talk about's first band. He was he joined Free when he was 15 years old, I would like to say. Um, his name is Andy Fraser. Now, I other than Free, I don't know too much about him, but I do think he's deserving of being called an underrated bass player, mostly because of his technique and his proficiency of the instrument. There was a short video that I have here of Andy Fraser. Let me just pull it up. Oh, and I forgot to switch my Wi-Fi. Bear with me, guys, before I start the video. I just want to fix my Wi-Fi real quick. Let's see. Oh, I apologize for that. Oh, Nick Riccardi's here. What's up, Nick? Sorry about that. If I made you leave, there was some technical difficulties. I just wanted to change the Wi-Fi router. Should have done that before, but oh well. I'm back at it now. Here we go.
It's hard to believe that one song can change your life forever. New from acclaimed
Please
author
don't take
Mark
me down.
Hughes comes an unbelievable human interest story of survival about the mega hit songwriter Andy Fraser. At age 16, his band Free was performing in front of crowds of over 400,000 fans and influenced such bands as Led Zeppelin,
16.
Lynyrd Skynyrd, Def Leppard, and Journey. Their mega hit smash, All Right Now, is still the iconic hard rock song, having been played on the radio in the United States over 4 million times and counting.
When All Right Now first broke,
YouTube's
it was
gonna
a
be
bit
like, nope,
like a shit
no,
hit
take it down.
band.
You're playing All Right Now.
Andy's
How dare
tell-all
you?
book, All Right Now, takes us on a journey to Bob Dylan, and a teenager with the world at his feet, and how he lived among rock and roll's most famous
If YouTube
musicians,
takes this down,
which included Eric
I
Clapton,
don't know.
Jimi
We'll
Hendrix,
figure something else out.
Bob Dylan.
I want you guys to hear that. Now, All Right Now is the most famous song by Free. Oh my god, this freaking Wi-Fi. Give me a minute. I am terribly sorry, guys. I really would like to know why my Wi-Fi's been acting up. But let's give this a go again. Let's go back to the video. Here we go. That bass line.
By the time Andy was out of his teens, he had become one of rock and roll's most influential bass players. With the overwhelming success weighing heavily, substance abuse eventually took the life of Free's guitarist Paul Kossoff, putting Andy on a different path both musically and in everyday life. Personal life after Free took many turns, having a family, writing hit songs, the sacrifices he made to find himself, and coming to grips and coping with 2 life-altering illnesses.
I was really crawling on my knees. It's like, if there's a God, I need you now.
All Right Now shows us the power of the human spirit, how one
age. See, that's Andy Frazier now.
man was able to overcome cancer, how one man was able to overcome the psychological and physical effects of being diagnosed with AIDS, how one man, through the power of the mind, body, and spirit, was able to see that suicide was not the answer, and that life, no matter what it throws at you, is worth living to the fullest.
Who takes every kind of people?
Andy Frazier, now in his late 50s, has kept the spirit of that 16-year-old boy alive and is still creating music as a singer-songwriter and CEO of the McTrax label.
Precious Lord, hear me calling.
Not a bad singer.
All Right Now is an inspirational book about coming of age, being a rock star, coming out, beating the odds, and being comfortable in your own skin. Andy Frazier is proof that sometimes the toughest things in life are what can save you.
Now that was. Oh, hold on a second. I don't know why I played again, but that's. I've just learned a few new things about that, and I should. This definitely influenced me to learn more about Mr. Frazier, because Mr. Frazier is quite an underrated bass player. I don't know if you heard All Right Now's part during that little solo section. That actually occurs during the solo section. I think after, like right after that little breakdown that they have, that and that one part of that goes like that part, as I think that's definitely something to keep in mind of. I think when being a bass player, you really have to like figure out, like, it's never wrong to come up with an iconic part like that, or come up with like a really riffy part, because a lot of the times when people think of bass players, they think of either lower guitar or thinking of the rhythm, like how does it fit the rhythm, and sometimes they don't stop to think melodically, which I am guilty of that as well. I'm guilty of not thinking melodically, or not thinking melodically enough. And I think why I really enjoy Andy Frazier's bass lines is because they're both rhythmically and melodically pleasing to hear. And I I will try and get a couple. I'll try to see what I can play right here, because I know YouTube's been I'm probably gonna get auto'd for playing that video, but I want to see what they got over here. Andy Frazier. This actually, I might end up listening to some other stuff too. The Andy Frazier Band. I didn't even know he was a good singer there too. That's something to keep in mind of. Let's see this. I want to check out this video, number 112. Learn 5 classic Andy Frazier bass lines. Let's hear what he has to say. I won't play the whole video, but I'll play like the little snippets of where he's like showing his bass lines, because hopefully I will get a free pass. Shout out to Greg's Bass Shed. I believe I've seen a couple of his videos before. Let me just double check. Am I good? Good. Hold on. I'm just going to share the screen audio. All right. There we go.
Hi, Welcome to this Greg Space Shed video lesson where I'm going to be showing you 5 classic Andy Fraser bass lines. These are all bass lines from songs by the band Free. I've left the obvious choice All Right Now off this video lesson because there's countless instructional videos about that already on YouTube. So hopefully I've picked 5 classic bass lines that you'll learn from and enjoy playing. If you're not familiar already with Free, then I'd suggest that you check out their greatest hits album called The Free Story. So there's loads of classics on there. Personally, I find Andy Fraser a really interesting bass player. I love how he leaves a lot of space in his bass lines, and he often starts by playing.
And that's another thing that I really like about Andy Fraser is like the space that he leaves in between his bass lines and during the guitar parts. Like, I think what makes All Right Now shine even more is the fact that he chooses they chose the right spots when to have Andy Fraser's bass. Like, there's a lot of space in between the verses and the chorus because during the verse, he doesn't play. But during the chorus and during the solo, he plays. And I think that's like really good placement. If you haven't checked out All Right Now by Free, I would definitely suggest you do. It's it's their most known song, so yeah, it's probably like overplayed, and I know some of you don't care and some of you do, or probably already have heard the song before, but definitely take to account like what Andy Fraser is doing, at least on the song or with the bass on the song.
High up on the bass and then builds the bass line up through the song and ends up lower down on the bass. He's also a really melodic player, and he used to play a Gibson EB3 a lot on the early stuff, so that really forms part of his punchy sound.
Yeah, I this goes for, anyone that will watch this or has not or is currently watching this. The Gibson EB3 is a very like old-fashioned, old-timey kind of low-end bass. It I believe Jack Bruce played it as well. Jack Bruce played it when he was in Cream, and yeah, I believe Jack Bruce and Billy Sheehan might have played it as well. I know he played an Epiphone Rivale, which has a similar low end sound. Um, very, very, very decent, very nice low end. If you're looking for really like eccentric, like slap or like a really out there tone, I wouldn't suggest it. But if you're looking for like a really punchy low end, really nice, like really nice on for the ears, like that goes to oh that it has more of like a boop, 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 boop. Almost like Paul McCartney's Rickenbacker or his Hofner bass. Very punchy, and I feel like it's a great addition to Andy Fraser's sound. Like he said, I have actually never played a Gibson EB3 before. Hey, the goddamn bacon! How are you doing? You just stopping by to say hello? I'm just talking about some underrated bass players. If I don't know how familiar you are with the band Free, but I'm talking about their bassist Andy Fraser. All right. Thank you for stopping by either
I'm
way.
going to start you off gently with the verse and chorus of Be My Friend. Now this has got a lovely feel to the song, and there's a really nice bass groove in the bass line. So I'll now play you the verse and the chorus.
That's very spacey kind of bass line too. A lot of like open space, like from a lot of open space from the beginning to like at least from the it leaves space for the beat and for the guitars. And I think is a nice contribution. I think it's to what made Free um really the almost the perfect rock band. I wouldn't say they are the perfect rock band, but when it comes to the chemistry and the way that they played their instruments, I would definitely go and say that they are the perfect rock band. Each instrument, when it complemented each other, um, I would suggest checking out their album Fire and Water. I believe it came out in 1970. I believe it was when Fire in 1970. Here we go. Fire and Water, 1970. Check out. I think that is by far my favorite album by Free, and I think there's some top-notch stuff. Let me see. Let me see what other song he has in mind. Ride on a Pony. I don't remember which album that was from, but let me check it out.
From Free, but it's got a great funky vibe to the song and a really brilliant bass line. The bass line's loosely based on a riff in E, and it kind of follows a blues sequence as well, but it's only 8-bar sequence. And so I'll play that for you now.
I definitely have heard this song. I like how bluesy it is too. And another thing that I want to mention that Greg's bass shed mentioned was that he handles the high notes just as well as he does the low notes. I think he handles them both equally well, and it's very melodic and it just fits. It fits rhythmically as well, and that's I think is a crucial key component to bass playing or to good bass playing is complementing your highs as well as your lows. Now, probably gonna. I will mention there was another bass player that have. I don't know if you could say he's underrated. Maybe you could. Maybe you could say that he is. I think that he is, or I don't think he gets talked about as much. And that would that would probably end up being Chris Squire from Yes. I know it's quite a jump from you know, talking about Andy Frazier, but Chris Squire definitely up there, and I feel like he isn't really as well talked about compared to say all the other rock bassists that everyone's talking about, like Lemmy from Motorhead, uh, Cliff Burton from Metallica, Geddy Lee from Rush, or Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I feel like he is talked about, and I do feel like he's getting the credit he deserves, but I feel like I don't think he's as much recognized for his bass playing skills, say, as Gailey or Flea is. And I'll try to play this without getting the video taken down, but this is the isolated bass for Roundabout, the Yes song. Now, I don't know how if you guys could tell the difference between like pick and fingerstyle, but Chris Squire's playing well, as you can see in the picture, he's playing with a pick. Um, I think done. I think he has a good use of rhythm when playing with a pick, and that's very difficult to find in at least bass players now. Which I think was part of that whole like, oh, bass players that play with a pick aren't real bass players. That kind of stigma, but believe it or not, you could end up creating really unique rhythms with the bass with playing with a pick, and I think Chris Squire is another fine example of that. Um, this is the song Roundabout from the album Fragile. If I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna see if I could go to the part where it's like right after the keyboard solo. I think right before or right during the guitar solo. Let's have a look. let's talk. I'm gonna show you the transition between the keyboard solo and the guitar solo. Right here. I and I know that's a very like prog rock thing to do to like change the tempo and change, the time, but I think that with a bassist like Chris Squire, he definitely contributes to a lot of those like clever rhythm changes to go from bang 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 to that definitely takes a lot of practice and takes a lot of really like like thought out or smooth like picking. It's definitely like a type of like finesse to it, or a natural something like second nature, which I think to be a good bass player that plays with a pick is definitely a whole nother level. I'm going to see if I could find some other top tier stuff. There's actually I'll play a little bit of stuff from his master class because he has a master class video. Or let's it's being annoying. But this is the master class that he has. I'm only gonna play like a few minutes of it because it's like 40 minutes long. But let's hear what he has to say about certain like exercises and certain playing techniques. Let's have a look.
Most innovative bassist in the history of rock, and we have the pleasure of talking with him today.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
Are there any warm-up exercises you'd like to do before a recording session or a live performance?
But you mean like a regular scale, like no, I don't usually play those things. In fact, yeah, if you asked me to play a diminished scale, I probably wouldn't know where to start, even though I probably know in my head how it sounds. Usually my mind's on the track we're about to record and trying to, improve that before, we go into the studio to do it. And when we're playing live, usually the same thing applies. I'll be in the dressing room playing the first song we're about to do before we go on stage. However, there's one thing I do like to warm up on sometimes, which is the track Sound Chaser from the Relayer album, and I'll just give you a little bit of that. So, and it goes like this.
What I also really I think what makes Chris Squire shine as well is also his melodic playing. I think when you I think a good way to like memorize like bass lines is always think of the melody that kind of goes with that bass line. Like Chris Squire ends up having a lot of melodic like bass lines. Not just this song from the Relayer album, but many others, including Roundabout. Like that's definitely an iconic example. Roundabout, Heart of the Sunrise. Um, there's Starship Trooper from the Yes album. That's another one. Um, there's the song Close to the Edge where he just goes absolutely nuts on the bass. I think he's just kind of like going like just playing all sorts of notes like freeform, like almost like freeform jazz, but not exactly. But he's just like soloing off of it. But um Chris's bass lines, Chris Squire's bass lines are just definitely very melodic, but that's a key to a good melodic bass line is always like make sure the rhythm it follows the rhythm. And I think he definitely knows how he has a good sense of rhythm and he has a good sense of melody.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a warm up to me.
Yeah.
Okay, how about you have one of the most distinctive sounds in rock and roll, as far as I'm concerned. I attribute a lot of that to your picking technique. Could you explain a little bit about the way you pick, maybe the gauge of pick that you use and how you approach the pick?
Well, I've always, for some time now, used a Herco heavy pick, which are these gray ones. I don't know if you can see them, but it's gray. And I think they make a guitar pickup that's kind of a bronze color too. And
Guys, I'm in case any of you want to, learn with a pick, I think this is basically common knowledge, but you should always use a heavy pick. Always use like a really heavy pick, nothing too flimsy, just so you could, because those strings are like really big and heavy compared to obviously guitar strings, or depending on how strong depending on the guitar strings or the bass strings, but the bass strings are usually more often than not stronger. But what I use sometimes is a Tortex .73. So these are these are definitely not very flimsy. So definitely good for guitar for bass picking. And that's just common knowledge. I figured I'd just give you guys a heads up in case you want to get into like playing with a pick.
probably most people know that I've always used rotor sound strings, which are the standard swing bass gauges. And to know exactly what they are, we'll have to look at the packet, but it's the standard swing gauge set. And there is one thing I guess not many people ever realized about a lot of the way I play is that I don't just play with a pick. I actually, over the years, have developed a technique where the pick itself is just in front of the thumb. So in fact, a lot of times when I'm actually playing, I hit the string with the pick, and then after that, my thumb hits it like a millisecond or two later, which is like a kind of an ADT. It's kind of hard to demonstrate because it's real quick, the actual time. But if I just took the G string and I played it with the pick, it would just be like. And if it was just my thumb, it would be a softer sound like. But the way I do it is tend to put them together and have a. So you're getting a harmonic in there as well. So it's like. So it's kind of a technique that I don't think anyone else has really used. If anyone else has, please write to Starlix and let them know, because I don't know how I developed it.
Do you feel you get more of a feeling for the string that way?
Yeah, there's definitely more. There's more contact with the human body. I think just hitting it with the plastic itself is not the same feeling. Yeah, so it's definitely you can get more soul into your playing that way.
A little bit about the equipment. Now that's the original Rick that you've.
This is the original Rickenbacker that I've had ever since 1965, which I actually bought while I was the only regular job I had was in a guitar store for a year when I was 17, and I bought this Rick then, and I used it through my first band, The Sin, and all the way through Yes's history as well. So yeah, it's still
Definitely quite a beauty that thing looks. His original Rickenbacker. I'm not too sure if that was the same one that Geddy Lee played. I would assume it's the same one that Geddy Lee played on the first couple of Rush records. I believe from Fair no. Farewell, no, not Farewell to Kings. Fly by Night is one I believe Geddy Lee started playing with the Rickenbacker. But I've noticed that, Geddy Lee's Rickenbacker sounds very similar to Chris Squire's Rickenbacker. And the reason why I say that Chris Squire is an underrated bass player is because of how not often he is talked about as say Geddy Lee, because if it weren't for Chris Squire we wouldn't even have Geddy Lee. Geddy Lee even would even tell you that like Chris Squire is a big part of his sound, and you could hear it in say Farewell to Kings. I've mentioned this to other people before that, but like when you listen to a Farewell to Kings by Rush, that that sound, that Rickenbacker sound, is very similar to say Chris Squire's Fragile, the famous Yes album, the first Yes album to have Rick Wakeman, I believe that was the first. But that it's very similar, and I think that this is another example of like looking at your influences, or looking at bassists that you look up to or that you really like. Look at what they who they like and see what made them big, which is another, which leads to my next bassist. I'll see what I can find of Mr. Tim Bogert. I've talked about him a couple months ago because he sadly passed away. I think he was battling n- I believe he was battling cancer or some illness. I don't think they've reviewed it. I believe it was cancer. It was it's a while back, but again, may he rest in peace. He was a definitely a bass player too. Definitely a bass player that never got the credit he deserved. I'll see if I could find. I want to see if I can find something and not get the video taken down because I really don't feel like getting Beatoed right now. But let's see. Tim Bogert. Oh, oh, there you are, Greg. What's up?
What's up? Sorry, I'm really late. I had to upload a video.
Nah, don't worry about it, man. This is just an open discussion. I was about to show a video of Tim Bogert on bass
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
I'm
I'm only gonna be a few minutes because I'm really like ragged.
nah, you're fine, dude. Um, I'll probably wrap up a little soon as well. But what was I gonna say? Do you know any bassists that don't get the credit that they deserve, like in any sort of genre of music, not just in rock or not just in rock or like anything in between, like blues, jazz, anything?
When really looking up bases, I really couldn't find one. I really couldn't put my tongue on one. You know what I'm saying? Like I really tried to look it up, but every time I tried to look it up, it was like some bases they get their recognition. So I would say it definitely is one of those things in which I would have to say I couldn't find not even like one or two, because I
Mm,
think most bassists do get their credit because without the bass there is no music. I mean, you got
yeah,
guitar and drums, but then you don't have the establishing bass. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. And the thing is, the bass is the foundation. And I think like Glenn Fricker said it best. If you if you don't give a crap about the bass, your whole band is gonna sound weak. Like
Yeah.
this is how he broke it down. He said, I'm gonna say it in his words. He said, the talented guys that or as how they usually the formulaic way of forming a band is the talented guys end up on guitar and drums. The guy with no musical background or anything, he winds up being the manager of the band.
Mhm.
And the guitar player who's not as good of a guitar player as say the one that ends up on the guitar ends up being the bass player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean, that's where I am right now. You know what I'm saying?
mhm, but again, Before I ramble on, I just want to show a little bit of Tim Bogert's playing.
Mhm.
I was trying to find some video not to get the copyrighted, but here's a little bit of his playing. He's we got one person. Let's get those likes up, guys. I could definitely hear like or see how Billy Sheehan kind of started off. I don't know if how familiar you are with Billy Sheehan, Greg.
A little bit,
he's
I know of Billy Sheehan.
Yeah, he's Mr. Big's bassist, and I believe he plays for the Winery Dogs and Sons of Apollo.
Mhm.
But he credits Tim Bogert as a blatant influence, which as what a lot of people as a lot of those like a lot of the boomers can vouch and say that they know Tim Bogert from Vanilla Fudge and Cactus, which for example, Cactus I think is I think they were very ahead of their time. Like the album Restrictions, I think it had the song Evil, which was a cover of the Howling Wolf song.
Mhm.
Let's just see. I'm gonna get out of this video real quick. I will try to play some of the video, and if it gets taken down, it gets taken down. I'll just move it somewhere else. Here it is. Let's see. I'll play some of Evil by Cactus, or maybe I'll play a live version of Evil by Cactus. Get taken down by that. Is this one? Does this one have Tim Bogert? Yeah, it does. I'm only gonna play like the solo part because I want to show the just how he handles the rhythm during the solo, and I think that I always like hearing these kinds of bass lines. And definitely let me know your opinion of this kind of bass line too. Find it probably doesn't. Here we go. It's coming in okay, right? That's at the BB King Blues Club.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever listened to Cactus before, Greg, but
I've listened to a little bit of it. I listened to a little bit of their albums. I don't know them by heart, but I have heard of them. I'm not really well aware of their main songs, but I am aware of them.
yeah,
I just haven't listened to a lot of music as of recently because I've been on a really huge video making thing. So I've just been so enamored with this that I've been,
mhm,
like the podcast is really booming and stuff like that. So now you have to
yeah,
make sure that you're on trends and stuff like that. So I haven't had time to sit down and actually listen to albums of mine that I actually really wanted to listen to and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I'd say whenever you're just like not doing anything, definitely take that. I would definitely do that because especially if it's like a train ride or something. Because whenever I used to take the trains, from my college to the city, I would like I would bring my headphones or I'd bring my AirPods and just like listen to something.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I gotta do that more. I gotta do a lot of things more.
Yeah, but well, how did you think that was that rhythm or that bass was for that like solo section?
I think it's definitely it's a well needed it's a well needed combo, right? You need
Mhm.
a guitarist that knows how to play a solo, but you also then need the bassist to keep not only the rhythm, but you also need to keep you also need to what I want to say about this. You actually need to like have a little bit of a mix in there, you know what I'm saying? Because like I'm
Mhm.
saying, like you can definitely do your own thing when you're a bassist, but I know the guitarist has his own thing, but definitely you want to keep the rhythm as well as have your own thing so that it sounds actually really good and that it adds something the to the piece, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think Tim Bogert does a very good job of that as well. Oh, we got another person.
All right.
Or
But I'm gonna head out. Definitely got to take a shower. I've been at band practice myself, so I've been running around ragged, been busy.
yeah, and
I'm sorry, my friend. You know what I'm saying? Your
yeah,
boy
no
is
worries.
really, really busy.
Yeah, I've been trying to I know how that is because just getting everything settled and ready. But I definitely appreciate you coming on. I mostly just been talking about bass players. Before I was talking about Andy Frazier from Free,
Mm.
and if you they did the song "All Right Now," the "All
Yeah, I know.
Right,"
Yeah.
and I was talking about Chris Squire because everyone talks about Geddy Lee and his bass playing, but I feel like people don't really talk about the bassist that came before him. That was like a big part of Geddy Lee's sound. And
Yeah.
that was just kind of my go-to about that. That was just kind of my walkthrough about just my little tangent about that, just to leave you up to date about what we were talking about. But
All right.
I do
Definitely.
appreciate your 2 cents about Tim Bogert's line, and I think that's a good thing to take to heart.
Yeah, no problem, man. All right. Okay. I'm gonna head out. I'll see you later, bro.
All right, I'll catch you later.
All right.
Peace out. All right, the two people. Um, before I go on to the final thoughts, there was one more bass player that I wanted to look at. I want to see if I can remember. I see if I can remember where there was one particular one that I was looking for. It really slipped off of me. It was Frank Bello. I believe it was Frank Bello from Anthrax. Let me see if I could find something for you guys. Or actually, there's Frank Bello, and there's one other bass player that I want to go over a little bit as well, but it won't be as it won't be as long. But Frank Bello, from Anthrax was another one. I think nowadays he's starting to get the recognition he deserves, but at least compared to like other bass players, say like David Ellefson or Cliff Burton, the other ones from the Big Four, I don't think that he was as talked about as much, and I think also up there with um, he's also up there with Burton and Ellefson. But there's one video that Loudwire upload. I hate that it starts on its own. It's like it doesn't want to wait. This is impatient. Like yes, I want to play the video, but I just need to finish. But this is Frank Bello playing his favorite lines.
What's up, everybody? This is Squiggy with the Music Experience at Loudwire's Gear Factor. I'm hanging out with mi paisano, Mr. Frank Bello.
Is that an ESP? Looks like an ESP. It's a great looking bass. I definitely think it's a great looking bass.
From,
What's up, kid? How are you?
From the Mighty Mighty Anthrax. What was the bass line, the riff, whatever, that made you want to pick up the instrument?
You know, this is funny because there's a couple of them that really made me want to play. There was the Rush thing, of course, or the Free Will, right?
goes on and on. You know the song. That was one of them. But then for the metal thing, it was absolutely, and I don't have to say this,
Of course.
Iron Maiden
Of
Killers.
course.
Steve Harris is a big influence. Geddy Lee's a big influence still to this day. And
If you play metal and you don't, and you're gonna say that Steve Harris is not an influence on you, stop capping. Just quit the capping.
Geezer Butler, really.
And
All
Geezer
three of
Butler.
those
You can
guys.
never forget Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath.
Instrumental in making me want to just pick up an instrument, well, the bass specifically. But man, I tried guitar first.
Oh, really?
You know, I tried
Okay.
guitar, but I was playing and I was jamming with Charlie Benanti from Anthrax. We grew up together, so we're related. And he's the guy that him and my friend Mike. They just told me you're playing.
And Charlie Benante is starting to get credit as a drummer. Like he's starting to get the credit he deserves as a drummer too. So definitely look out for that. I'm planning to do something for drummers as well. So keep on the lookout for that. But Anthrax is definitely they're definitely one of those rhythm sections that's very underrated.
The bass parts on guitar. So I heard bass,
Oh,
you know what I
wow.
mean? So it just made sense to switch it over. And once I switched to the bass, it was automatic. It was like a click in, something clicked, and it worked out. I had the ear for that. I picked up the bass parts really easily. So then it was onward, man. I just learned like every Rush song I could, every Iron Maiden, Sabbath, you know, and then it just carried on, just trying to get everything right. That was my training. That was really growing up in training.
So those were also the first songs you learned. So when you said, "Man, I'm leaning towards the bass," you pick up the bass.
Yeah.
What's the song you can't wait to learn how to play?
Oh, this. Right? And we open to that song. You know what I mean? That's the opening song before Anthrax comes out.
I love his like his fluidity with the instrument, or not the fluidity, but like just the way that he like plays it with confidence. Like he has the feel, he has everything. And I think that's what people should really look after when finding a competent bass player, is that feel that they have. And Frank Bello definitely has a lot of feel in his playing, and I'm not just saying this because he's a fingerstyle player, but just because you yourself, like if you you could end up feeling what he's playing, as well as, you know, hear those strong low ends, that strong rhythm. It's just definitely a good time all around. And that's honestly what started getting me to listen to Anthrax even more. The next and final bass player that I want to talk about is the bassist from Pantera. He is a bassist that I think that I think he is to Pantera like Jonesy is to Led Zeppelin. Like, yeah, people talk about Jonesy. They talk about John Paul Jones and how he's a very competent member of the band. He's like a great his contributions to the band are unmistakable, and his bass playing is definitely underrated. But I feel like he doesn't get as much like acknowledgement for the instrument, and Rex Brown is definitely like that as well. Let's see if I could find some Rex Brown bass stuff. There we go. Let's hear what he got. Let's hear what Mr. Brown has. I'm gonna play a little bit of I'm Broken's bass part, the song from Far Beyond Driven, Pantera's 1994 album. But I'm gonna play a little bit of it. Hopefully, I won't get Beatoed for this, but let's give it a go. It only wants to play when I'm not ready for it to play. What I like is that aggression that he does, that like heavy, like that like the way that he's like chugging on the strings is it it's a lot of feeling and it's a lot of like strong aggression that fits Pantera's sound. Like you could definitely hear that and think that is the foundation of Pantera. Like yeah, it's not Dimebag Darrell's like guitar riff, which is a big part of Pantera's sound, which was one of the biggest parts of Pantera's sound. But it's the foundation. It's the rhythm. It's that bottom to the guitar. It's that like kind of like girth around the drum set or around the drums that is needed, along with like Vinnie Paul's drumming. It's just it fits and it's just that sound and it's very riffy as well. I'll see if I could find an isolated bass for Floods. Floods is another Pantera song that has it has a great bass part, I think. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm gonna play a little bit of Floods. It's where he and it is you can argue that it's a very melodic like bass line as well. You can argue because yeah, he plays with the guitars, so it's like not a lot of people are gonna look at this and be like, "Oh, this is like an excellent bass player. This is so great." But he's a very good bass player. Like he has the sound, he has the aggression, he has the rhythm. He plays, yeah, like he creates the tension. Like he has the tension and he knows when to stop and knows when to go. He keeps his bass playing in key and on time, and that's also a big part of playing the bass. See if I can find it. Let's only share audio. I think he plays his fingers on this song. Yeah, he plays with his fingers. Let's hear how that sounded. Going from the high notes to the low notes. Yeah, it sounds like he's playing with his fingers here. And for those of you that are not very familiar with Pantera's music or specifically the song Floods, it has like a very like ding 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 ding. That's basically how the guitar sounds because it's a very like dark, menacing song. It's about, it's about an apocalypse. It's about, you know, it's like a common like doom metal standard almost. Like it's it's a very one of my all-time favorite Pantera songs, if not my favorite Pantera song. Floods has that like it has that guitar with the ding 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 ding, but it has the bass kind of surrounding it, adding that like low end and that bottom with the root notes as well, going not just doing, the root notes, but having the slides, having the moving notes. It could be like a almost like a walk, and it's just it's adding that like extra little uh piece together. It's not the icing on the cake, but kind of like the pieces of bread, say on a sandwich. Say that, you know, Dimebag Daryl was the meat. He was the meat of Pantera, and the you could say that Vinnie Paul was like the condiment, whatever condiment you'd want to put, mayo, mustard, ketchup, whichever. And Phil Anselmo was the lettuce. And the two pieces of bread that over the rest of the what would be the band was Rex Brown. And what I liked about him was he created that tension when it was needed. He knew when to hold back and just kind of go easy. I'll see if I could play a little bit of Cemetery Gates by Pantera so I can not I'll play a little bit of the isolated bass from Cemetery Gates. because that's another song where he holds back. See, I don't think I have it. Oh, I cannot find it. Let's see. Yay. Well, they got the drums and the bass. So actually that actually might help because it'll show all of us how the bass and the drums sound together with how the bass sounds with the drums, just so you can see that the whole complement. He's adding a little bit of like extreme now he's adding a little bit of extreme pressure onto the strings, or he's adding a little bit of tension to the strings, but not as much as say I'm broken, like where it says like ding, 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 ding. Like it's not like he's like attacking the strings straight up, but he's definitely giving as much tension needed for the this whole light ballad part. I'm gonna go to the part where it has the going from the light ballad softer part onto the part where it has the real metal part that ding 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 ding. It's definitely a good build of momentum, which I would think that's I another thing that I really like about Rex Brown's playing is he's not exactly going with just the guitar. He's doing his own thing as well, which I think that's another good part of playing of being a bass player is you don't always have to go with the guitar, which honestly it's better off not to go with the guitar. Yes, stay on the root notes, of course, but don't exactly copy what the guitar is doing note for note, or at least staying on the root notes. Definitely add a little more flair to it, and I think that he did that as well. That doom doom ding doom doom ding ding doom doom. Like when he was doing the riff, he wasn't exactly doing what Dimebag was doing on the guitar. He was doing his own thing, and that's kind of what bass players before him set the standard for, say like Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath or Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. They were prime examples of that. They weren't always staying on the root notes or doing what the guitar was doing. They figured out when to do their own thing, which a good practice I will leave for you bass players is figure out the root notes first and then figure out the root notes and what rhythm you're doing. Like, yes, play the root note first, and then think of it. Think of what chord is that. What chord could you want to do an octave? You want to do root fifths? see what you could do with that. Do you want to do like a little major or minor scale up on top of that blue chromatic scale, a chromatic walk? Definitely take that to consideration because that's another key to good bass playing. And onto the final thoughts. Now the whole point of this video or this stream was just to open up a few other doors or talk about some bass players that you never really hear talked as much, say like Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Gene Simmons from Kiss and Geddy Lee from Rush or Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. I'm not trying to say that these bass players of here are terrible. I do not think that at all. They are great players, but these other bass players that I've mentioned, Andy Frazier, Chris Squire, um, the Tim Bogert, and Frank Bello from Anthrax, and Rex Brown from Pantera, all these other bass players you should definitely check out because even though they're not as well talked about or well known, they have good technique, great tension when it's needed. They're melodic. They don't just follow with the guitar. They actually experiment with the rhythm and see how far they can go with that rhythm and with those melodies and with those chords. And I think that's the key to being a truly great bass player. And they definitely have all those keys and definitely deserve nothing but the utmost respect for their playing. And that's how I want to end it, guys. Like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to see videos similar to this one. If you want to see any updates regarding the podcast, don't forget to check my Instagram at LA Perez Works. I always post updates on my Instagram story to let inform you guys on whenever I'm doing the podcast. And if you guys are feeling generous, Cash App $Louis ATM 929. That's the if you want to contribute $1 or $2 into the podcast, which I've said before will go back into the podcast equipment. So definitely check that out. But guys, that is all for now. I hope you have a good rest of your week, and I will keep you guys updated on the next podcast or the next stream. As always, stay tuned.